Another Pokemon market update for you guys. We're going to start with Scarlet Violet era. And we're going to work through actually into some vintage towards the end. But check this out. On the screen, you're seeing this correctly. Stellar Crown, 150 per box. That happened quick, up 40% in the past 3 months. 3 months ago, this was a $100 box. Now we're seeing 150 for a set that a lot of people regarded as kind of, mid tier or less than mid tier. Last sales 150 pretty consistently, or high 140s. We're seeing 142, so that market price would update by a few dollars if this price continues to hold. If you're looking to pick one up, that is the lowest listed. It's pretty consistent around that price, and then after that, a few boxes sell. We're quickly going up to 160 on TCG Player, so 40% gains, very solid. You zoom out here on the 6-month chart, so yeah, 40%. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about the booster box. We also have other product from Stellar Crown moving, including the PCETB, 34% in the past 3 months. This was not that far above MSRP, really, at $78. They have market at 106, but most recent solds are actually like 132. Two at 132, and before that, 120, 120, 132, 115. Not a big surprise there. You got the Noctowl stamped promo, Gen 2 Pokemon, but the PC ETBs have dominated the space recently, and we're going to see the same thing with PC ETBs that we've seen with booster boxes, right? Undervalued booster boxes and PC ETBs, they're going to start to get scooped up, okay? Everything is getting so expensive, and including, like, next up we have, like, Obsidian Flames, Scarlet Violet base. So, yeah, things are getting wild out there. If you want to pick one up, you're at 107 plus 15 shipping, so you're pretty much at, like, almost 130. So this new recent sale, 130, is the new market price for the Stellar Crown PC ETBs. We'll talk about the Squirtle for a second. This card's up 36% in the past 3 months. It was 40 bucks. Now we're at 56. There's 107 copies available. So we'll see how this one ends up. It's an illustration rare, super adorable. There is a potential for these illustration rares, this one and the Bulbasaur, to potentially pass the Terapagos as the most expensive card from the set, but it has a long ways to go. This would have to gain $20 in value. There is a world in which this happens. I could see this, but 55 market, you could pick those up all day, which is a little bit under current market price. So definitely possible there. And pre-release prices were at 48, and the low on this card was 38 bucks. So yeah, definitely big gains over 38. I don't know if it can pass the Terapagos, but I can see a scenario in which that happens. But we got to move on to Obsidian Flames. And yes, Obsidian Flames is nearing 160 a booster box. 27% growth in the last 3 months. From 120 up to 153, with most recent sales being there's a 157, 155, and a 170 sale. Before that, 150s and 160s, and then low 150s for the Obsidian Flames. Now, this is another one of those sets people said was kind of not even mid-tier, like low-tier Charizard set. And I mean, I get it. I do get it. But it is a Charizard set. I don't think it's as bad as some of the other Charizard sets we've gotten in the past. I do like some of the artwork on there. There's actually some sneaky good illustration rares in here as well. But if you're wanting to pick one up, you're looking at 160 as the lowest price, which would be above the most recent sale. So you're talking about Obsidian Flames going to 160, Stellar Crown at 150. I mean, these lesser boxes even shooting up in price, and that's going to bring up an interesting topic. I got some comments. We're talking about reprints, right? And I'll address that as we pull up the PC ETB. PC ETB is just a measly 112%. It's slowed down a little-ish. It went from 115. 3 months ago, this was 115, up to 244. Most recent sale, you know it's going to be above that. These will not stop climbing. 260 most recent sales on this box. 42 boxes available, more than I thought would be. But 260 is the new lowest price. So that matches the most recent sale. So those are going up. Now, talk about the reprints just briefly while we look at this Charizard chart, just for a second. You have what sets need reprints from this era. You have Surging Sparks, 151. Now with all these other Obsidian Flames, Stellar Crown, Twilight Masquerade, that's 5 right there. If these boxes continue to rise, right? How can they reprint every set? Oh, what about Prismatic? Prismatic's not even out yet, and people are saying we need a reprint on that. So they can't reprint every set, and if they do, not heavily enough, because they have to print out their new sets as well. So just something to consider. You know, you can kind of rank them as like, oh, maybe Surging Sparks and then 151. You know, those are the ones that need it the most. But also, what at this point, who cares? What if they do a reprint? That just seems like a buying opportunity at this point. With the strength of the market, like, I don't know if they could do a massive enough reprint anymore to crash the prices. I mean, maybe like 20%, 30% worst case scenario. Maybe it seems like. Yeah, which sets, like, will Obsidian Flames not get reprinted and squeak through and end up being an expensive box? But anyways, back to the Charizard. I artwork wise really like this card, but it's up 40% in the past 3 months. It's down off of its high right here. Went from 45 up to about 70. It's kind of creeping back up to it. Came back down to 59, and we're seeing most recent sale at 68. And got market at 65. Pretty consistent market price, like 60s, low to mid 60s, with this one being higher recently. And if you want to look, you want to pick one up, you're actually at $70 from a star seller. So with shipping, you'd be at 70, which would be just a little bit above the most recent sale. But if it cracks 70, that would be above this previous high. If we zoom out here, you will see that would be the 1-year high. If we get back to above this chart, lowest of the year was sub 40. This was a $39 card. Then I got to talk about SV base again. I love SV base. Best artwork from a base set we've ever had. I still think it's kind of underrated, but $140. $140 a box for SV base. 35% growth in the past 3 months. From 97, this was sub 100 3 months ago. And now we're seeing 140. Last sold's 140. Before that, pretty consistent 138s, but cracking the $140 mark. That's the lowest listed right now, 140. And it's probably going to be at 140 for a while. Maybe we'll move up, but we got to eat through some of this supply here with Scarlet Violet base. So yeah, if you had Scarlet Violet base going to 140 on your bingo a few months ago, or on your bingo card, good job on you. But yeah, a year ago, I mean, look at these lows. Obviously, this was in kind of like the dredges of last year. Towards the beginning, this was not a bull market. Okay, these were 85 a box. People were picking them up in the 70s. So I know that there was places selling them at a loss just to get money for the new sets. It was crazy if you were around during this time. So yeah, SV base turning out to be super solid as well. That's nice to see. I do think there's a ton of really great artworks in the set, including the Gardevoir. I really like that Gardevoir from base set. Now, to talk about something, we just talked about this, I think it was 3 days ago. I don't know why this is showing Canadian right now. Anyways, Twilight Masquerade booster boxes. I was able to see there's ways to see the stock, the inventory, and we saw that it was getting low. It was 2,500 boxes. It's sold out. Okay, I don't know why it's showing Canadian, but it's sold out. Hopefully, if you guys were able to get some, because we were kind of on the cusp of seeing that run up. It's a little too early. Like, this just sold out yesterday. But pretty consistent 175 right now on the booster box on TCG. 13% up in the past month. You go to the 3-month chart, it's up 16%. It ran up to 167 before, came back down to 150s, and now we're seeing that 175 price. Listed median, this is what I'm talking about. When a set sells out in the Pokemon Center, listed median is 200. They usually shoot up to 180, 190, 200. They do that pretty quick. In this market, things are accelerated, right? So if you want to pick one up right now, you're at 175, but after a few sales, we're at 200. So potentially later in the day, after this video is posted, later in the day, tomorrow, this could be creeping more up to 200. The median price kind of reflects that. If we go to page 2, this would be interesting. I don't normally do this, but let's go a little further. After a few 2 and 220s, we're seeing 250. Okay, so there's 132 boxes available. So some people could come and list them and lower that price. But what you guys have to understand with Twilight, and why I was saying that this is going to shoot up, the Greninja is in this set. The Greninja is over $300, right? This was the set, and that was the chase card that started to flip the script on the Scarlet and Violet era. It changed my perspective on the whole era. It changed a lot of other people's. No, I don't think anybody really called this set to do what it did, and specifically the Greninja. So this set's probably going to run. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's why I made that video. Anyways, just wanted to bring that up. Like, it's sold out. This is where it's probably going to go. Okay, so Twilight Masquerade making big moves. Not a surprise to me at all to see that. Then this chart is not fully updated on here. But I had some people when we were talking about Crown Zenith, saying the RCS is up, the RC is up. Yes, you guys are correct. You guys are correct. The chart's being weird. I hate it when it does this, but we'll try a refresh real quick, see if it can update. I don't think it will. It's just sometimes it's bugged like this. But they actually have market price at 120, which this percentage gain would be huge. 3 months ago it was $60. So you're talking about doubling in the past 3 months to 120. Most recent sales, 111, 115, 110. There's a 140, a 120, and one. So maybe, and there's a 130 down here at the bottom, a few of those. So maybe 119. I don't know. We'll see how that price holds. Lowest listed from a starred seller is $130 on the Arceus. So if you want to pick that up, you're looking well above market. This is a nice looking card as well. You got to understand that the Giratina carrying the big price tag, people are going to want the set of 4. So this makes this a desirable card, even if it wasn't a nice looking card. But it is. These cards in person are stunning, by the way. Let's see what the 1-year chart looks like. So this is something I talk about a lot on the channel. This was a $50 card. We had the alt art boom. I like to call it the alt art boom, but this isn't an alt art. Alt arts led the way in May, June. It ran up to 100, came back down to 57, which actually wasn't very strong. You want to see it set a higher low. Came back to this old price, but eclipsing this old price by a lot. So that's what we like to see on the Arceus. And this chart's working a little bit. We're seeing the 119 here. So 117% growth on the year for the Arceus. So I had to give that its credit in this video. We didn't talk about it the other day. Then last modern card. Then we're going to talk about some vintage towards the end, which is fun because I don't get to do it on the channel as much as I'd like, and that excites me. So Giratina, the VSTAR, GG99, Galarian Gallery. It's up. It's kind of like leveling off-ish, maybe just for the moment, it kind of seems. 48 copies available, 94% growth in the past 3 months. It went from 96 up to 192. However, most recent sale, we're seeing 195, and before that, a 217, 190, 197, 198, 198, 198. So, I mean, pretty much this is going to go up to around 200. Looks like it cooled off just for like a few days, just a little. Lowest listed on TCG from a star seller is 210, which would be well above even the 200 market price. So it looks like Giratina is probably going to continue to run as well. PSA 10 prices we've seen in the 500s, and this is the juicy chart that I like to see. 75 a year ago, then it had its run up to 138, settled down at just under 100, 95 as the new low, and now we're seeing 200 on the Giratina VSTAR. Yeah, so once again, stunning looking card. You have the Giratina alt art from Lost Origin doing really well right now. So, and there's a comparison there. There's also the Giratina alt art from Lost Origin is very expensive in a PSA 10, a very expensive raw. This card is a fraction of the price, so there might be some people looking at that card and then coming back to this, settling for the gold. So a lot of attention coming to the gold Giratina. Stunning card. I actually have this card on the way in a PSA 10. Super excited for that. Haven't received it yet. Got it for a pretty steal of a deal, actually. So pretty stoked on that. Excited for that card to come in. I wait, and you know what? This is one of those things where I like to say, like, I'm guilty of the same thing. I did the same thing with the Giratina. I saw it ran up, and I was like, I'm gonna wait. I called that correctly, and it was nice. And I waited for it to cool off, and then in here, for some reason, when it just kind of like stagnated around under 100, I kind of just like forgot about it, and I was like, oh, I'll get it later. Yeah, I got it kind of on this uptick. I got it somewhere in here, ish. PSA 10 prices were kind of lagging behind raw. I saw raw exploding, and I was like, I gotta get it. But I should have scooped up down here because I think PSA 10 prices at the time were like 180, 200 on the high end. Anyways, so I struggle with that as well. A little bit of transparency. I screwed up a little bit on that. And it's hard to time everything perfectly, right? But yeah, so the Giratina is going to go next to my Giratina alt art up over here on the shelf. So then let's talk some vintage. Vintage might not be as popular, I feel like, right now. Modern's doing big things. Modern's, well, hard to get. It's more accessible, right? But I mean, vintage is kind of like why I got into modern investing, is because some of these vintage cards, specifically in PSA 10s, are very expensive. So we're talking about this is not the first edition chart right here. I know it has the stamp right here. This is the unlimited, so no first edition stamp. But we are seeing the Dragonite up 37% in the past 3 months from $66. This is from Fossil, by the way. You can see the little Fossil stamp right here. If you're not familiar, up to $90. Last sold 150, 120, 160. So it looks like it was probably coming up off of that $90 mark. I believe the this should be the first edition right here. You can see that's the first edition price. Unlimited at 92. So some solid growth there. You zoom out a little bit and you'll see the 1 year chart looking really good too. 42% growth. So in this market, it's not only modern that's doing well. It's also vintage. Okay, it's just, I love these old hollow foil patterns, right? So we got to talk about some vintage when we can. So yeah, I'm super stoked. Love these cards. For me, like, it does kind of get me down just a little because I want the vintage. I love for the vintage to kind of crash a little. It's not going to really right now. The market's too strong, but so I can come in and scoop some stuff up because that's where like all my nostalgia is at. We also have the Dark Raichu from Team Rocket. Team Rocket sets also something to keep an eye on with the new Team Rocket set coming out. Okay, we could see a big uptick in these cards. Might bring some attention to the vintage side, especially if they do really well. They nail the new Team Rocket set. But Dark Raichu up 30%. Once again, this is the unlimited, not the first edition Holo Foils 130, unlimited to 60. 30% growth from 44 up to about 60. And you can see not that many sales. There's not that many sales on here. 17 copies available. If you wanted to pick one up now, you are looking at 63, which would be above the most recent sales. So vintage moving up as well. There was a 150 sale back here. This was first edition. That's why it does state that right here. So yeah, first edition being over double the price for these older cards. Just that, and we're kind of seeing that with the Pokemon Center stamped cards. It's kind of the equivalent of that first edition. The stamped cards are way, way, way above the non-stamped promo version. So kind of that's the closest thing we have to this nowadays, and it's only on a few cards. We also have the Lapras from Fossil making some massive gains in the unlimited, up 64%. I mean, dollar-wise, not the craziest, but you know, from 11 up to 18, seeing a big jump. We'll zoom out to the 1 year, 48% growth on the year. It looks like its low was a $7-8 card. Nothing too crazy. I mean, underrated, kind of underrated holo for back in the day. But yeah, so some nice growth. Recent sales are kind of below that a little, and then you got 20, 18. So I mean, before some 30s down here. So interesting on the Lapras. Just nice to see some vintage. I want to look at the cards again. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So yeah, we also got the big Zardy boy here, base set unlimited, 22% growth. Now this is a much better dollar gain from 350 up to about 440 on the Charizard. 23 copies available. You wanted to pick one up on TCG, you'd actually be looking at 600 for a near mint copy, which would be quite above this. These are, if you know, you know, these are tough to grade. So many of these from our childhood binders just got destroyed, weren't taken care of. So the Charizard, obviously the GOAT, the goated card right here. Look at the 1 year chart. It's only up 16% on the year. We were at 380 back here, and it dipped as low as 320. So coming off of April, 320 up to here. So yeah, that's what we're seeing for the base set unlimited Charizard. First edition prices, I probably won't talk about a ton, you know, too in depth on the channel. I do feel like they're just too unobtainable for the average collector. Then one of my favorite Dragonites of all time, Team Rocket set as well. It's up, not as crazy, 12%, but I wanted to show it. We got to show it on the channel, right? That's why we're bringing it up. Unlimited, we're seeing 12% growth from 72 up to 80. Most recent sales, there is a 150 sale on the unlimited, not a first edition. So you got 150, and then there was a first edition sale back here at 220. So that is interesting. Before that, we got some 75 sales, nothing too crazy. Once again, we're not going to see probably crazy moves on these cards. 10 available on TCG. You want to pick one up, that's first edition. There's not even an unlimited English copy on it. No, there is. There's one for 150. So yeah, this market price would be going up quite a bit if that updates for 150, but not a ton of sales, right? We zoom out the 1 year. It's only up 9% on the year. and we're just coming off of a little fluctuation here. So if this continues to run, it'd be nice to see. Once again, might be bringing some attention to some of the vintage side because of Team Rocket. That's why I bring this up a little bit. We also got the Dark Blastoise from Team Rocket up 20%. We're not going to go too deep into it, but 20% up, right? 12% on the year. The low is 78, so up to 98. Just nice to talk about some vintage. Even the little Vileplume from Jungle up 16%. Once again, I'm not saying these aren't the big dog investments that I'm telling you guys to get into. I think Modern's still the play for all of that stuff. I just wanted to bring it up. Okay, come on, you guys. Hopefully, you guys can understand. I wasn't trying to bore you guys too much. I don't think it's boring by any means. I don't know actually why I said that. Retract statement. Statement retracted. Don't hold me to it. But yeah. So I just like the vintage. So it's like every once a few times a month I mention some vintage stuff, it seems like. So it just makes me happy to even talk about, see the old cards, see them popping up right there. So yeah, in summary, to summarize, SV era, I mean, we were already like moving massive, and I feel like we're on full rocket ship mode right now. The jet fuel has been lit, and we're in full blast off with some of these booster box prices, like the lowest we're seeing in the 140s now. Paradox is at 140 as well. Where are things going to end up? Where are things going to end up? And if these continue to get more expensive, like it really seems like they are, what's going to get reprinted? They cannot reprint every set. So there's going to be some sleeper sets in there as well. And to what extent will they be reprinted? What is the print size? That also is going to play a factor. It seems like it's just going to get eaten up. So the market's wild right now. But that's all I got for you guys. Appreciate you guys all watching. If you're 22 minutes into the video and you're not already subscribed, if you want daily Pokemon market analysis videos, click the subscribe button and leave me a thumbs up. You know, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. But remember, I'll catch you guys in the next one. It'll be tomorrow, every single day. And remember, it was never a phase.